You might have been wondering about the assignments we've had over the last 2 weeks, where we've had the written assignment on Chapter 16, Persuasion. We had the Persuasion Theories, and then this week we had Problem Solution 1, Problem Solution 2. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm setting you up for persuasive speaking, and we're going to spend the next 2 weeks getting ready for the persuasive speech. So the purpose of Chapter 16 and reading over those things and knowing what types of persuasion are and knowing what the fallacies of reasoning are to get you ready for the speech. Because if you looked at the types of persuasion, there are propositions of fact, proposition of value, and proposition of policy. Now, our speech that we're going to do is proposition of policy. So we don't have time to do a speech on each of the other two, so we're going to focus on proposition of policy. That'll be your new thesis now. So when you hear proposition of policy, think of the informative speeches, and we called it a thesis, our central idea. All right, and then the second notion or assignment we had was about the persuasive theories. I just listed a few for you to look at. There's about 10 times that number of persuasive theories out there that people use, advertising firms, marketing firms, lawyers, anybody that's trying to persuade you to their way of thinking or getting you to do something or thinking that something is better than something else. There's lots of ways. So I wanted to get you exposed to the different types of persuasion theories, and you picked one, and that's good enough to learn. But the one we're going to use we're actually going to use one of them, and we're going to use a model of it, and it's called the Monroe's motivated sequence. I think that today we call it the motivated sequence now because Alan Monroe, who developed it back in the 1930s from Purdue University, he lost his copyright on it. It runs out after 50 years. But almost every advertising agency on Madison Avenue in New York and all their subsidiary locations around the world, in Hong Kong and London and Paris and Mexico City, all the biggest cities, most of them use the motivated sequence. So that's why I thought I'd expose you to that. And we'll use that process. Now, the problem solution exercises is for you to identify a problem. What happens with most students I've known in the past is they know the idea of a problem, then they know the idea of a solution, but then when we try to put it on the paper into a speech, everything goes out their head and they completely forget about it. They can't think of what a problem is. A lot of people will think of problems like time or money. Well, the reason you won't take a trip to Singapore is because, well, that's not a problem. Not having the money is not the problem. That's a reason you wouldn't do it. That's called a reservation. A problem is something you have that going to Singapore will solve. For example, I might have a problem if I go to the same places on vacation and I'm bored with them, or I've never been offshore and I want to go to some nice place and spend some time in a different culture and eat different foods and that sort of thing. So those would be problems I have. And then going to Singapore would solve the problem. So think in those terms. You wrote problems and then your solution, or I couldn't have, my toaster broke, I couldn't have any toast. So there's a problem right there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to go find a toaster. But then I have a real problem. What toaster do I buy? So yeah, I really have to drill down into what the problems are and then give a solution. So in the motivated sequence, that's a big part of it, is that we give a problem and then we have a solution for it, or we talk about a need. A need and a problem are somewhat similar. They're slightly different, but Alan Monroe uses the term need, and then how do we satisfy the need? So, and I mentioned problem, and then what's the solution for the problem? All right, pretty much the same thing, so that's what we're going to use, but that's why you did those assignments. Now, the problem solutions you picked have nothing to do with what your topic's going to be. It's just to get you in the mode of thinking what a problem and a solution is. All right. So when you pick your topic this week, we'll be doing it early this week. Go ahead and pick a topic. I'll give you the guidelines on it. Be sure to read the instructions and look at the topics I eliminate, cross off. And most of those topics I cross off are for one or two reasons. One is everybody knows it. You're not really convincing us to do it. We're already doing it anyway. And number two is that some of them are often stolen off the internet, so I want to keep you away from those two. All right, so that's where we are, and I'll put this video first, very first thing you watch, so you know how to connect the last 2 weeks with the next 2 weeks coming up. And I have several videos for this week, and they're all short, but they explain every step of the motivated sequence, so you should have no trouble going through. So let's get your topics to me as soon as you can, and this is for the persuasive assignment. You can use the topic of your informative speech since you've already done research on it, and use those same sources if you want, okay, if that works out, or you can pick a whole new topic. Whatever interests you, okay? Because you won't put as much effort into it if it's not something that you're really interested in. So make sure you're really interested in this. All right, we'll talk to you soon.